Hello, and welcome to Talking Development. My guest today is John Denton, the Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, an organization that represents more than 45 million companies employing over 1.3 billion workers across the globe. At a time when the private sector is hailed as the main engine for growth, the International Chamber of Commerce isn't your typical trade association. Its mission? Make business work for everyone, every day, everywhere, and especially in emerging and developing markets. John, welcome to Talking Development.
Buongiorno.
Yeah,
Great to be
buongiorno.
with you.
Nice one. So, International Chamber of Commerce, tell us a little bit about it. What does it stand for? What does it do?
Well, the first thing to know about the ICC is we're an institution. We can set norms and standards. So in a way, the values of the ICC permeate throughout the business community that we represent. And as you say, it's 45 million businesses in 170 countries. But interestingly, 70% of those countries are the global south. So we bring all that together, and we are ultimately the most inclusive business. Not only do we represent and engage, we also enable. So we enable something like $17.5 trillion worth of economic activity through the normative standards. So the whole trade finance market relies on the ICC's rules to actually operate. We also have our own dispute resolution area. We have what's called the ICC Court of Arbitration, which is the number one court in the world, private court in the world, and we hear and settle more than $400 billion worth of disputes every year. Disputes which, if they're not settled, could lead to friction, and could lead to trade wars, etc.
So important. Thank you so much for unpacking that a bit, and for us in development, so important to have that inclusive approach and the representation of companies from all over the world, particularly developing countries. One thing we're all dealing with, and I want to see what your take on it is digital innovation and AI. How do these two phenomenons, or this phenomenon of digital innovation and AI, affect the businesses that you work with?
Our purpose is to enable business worldwide to secure peace, prosperity, and opportunity for all. Enabling business is a key issue for us. So we always look at how can we remove the frictions or create the opportunities for businesses to operate in whatever economic model we have. And obviously with the increase in the digital economy, and we have set up, for example, the Digital Standards Initiative, which the whole purpose is simply to take all trade from analog to digital. Governments couldn't do it, we're doing it. So we've now got the vast bulk of trading nations aligning on this so that we can move from this nonsense where in 2024, 98% of bills of lading were still paper-based. What we're doing is creating the environment for them all to become digital, and in doing so, we'll lower the cost of trading, but make it more available to SMEs. So in that way, we're enabling businesses practically to participate in the digital world.
Wonderful. Another topic close to my heart, and I know yours, but I was inspired that the founders of ICC back in 1919 called themselves, or called ICC, Merchants of Peace. And in today's world, fragility and conflict, sadly, is quite widespread around the world. How does fragility, conflict affect your business, and how do you as ICC continue that powerful message of being merchants of peace?
Well, fragility and conflict are a huge concern, particularly in a number of the economies we're operating. But the reality is that without certainty, we're actually finding businesses frozen in inactivity. So uncertainty is permeating the global business community. So we're very present in Ukraine, but we're also very present in Syria. How do we re-engage the Syrian business community in global business activity? Simple things like finance and banking, so we're working on that. We're heavily involved in Palestine, thinking through from an economic perspective. I mean, we're not politicians, but we're very good at creating economic opportunity. So how do we work on a pathway forward on economic opportunity? So we're working on all these sorts of issues very practically. And we even have an intervention which we're using technology and AI. We have a platform called One Click, which we're talking to the World Bank about actually, which we've been able to use now in 27 different languages, which enables SMEs in developing and emerging economies to have at their fingertip all the tools they need to engage in cross-border trade. So there's practical things like that we do as well.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful, and it's great that you are present in some of the most difficult places in the world, but also places where we have to think about the next day. And I know that you have spent quite a bit of your own time in and on Ukraine, and of course the World Bank Group is very active and has been stepping up really to support Ukraine. How do you see the role of the ICC during the conflict, and how are you thinking about ICC tomorrow in Ukraine?
Yeah, great question. I mean, for us, we talk about the economic front in this battle as well.
Yeah.
There is no doubt recovery will be harder for Ukraine if the private sector is not functioning. So the first thing we did after the invasion was to work together with the Ukrainian private sector to actually keep the private sector functioning. It's very important. People forget about that. We also keep visibility on Ukraine business, because one of the challenges is that most people think that businesses are not operating there. It's the whole, what is the appropriate risk allocation? There is no doubt that it's riskier and harder to do business in East Ukraine. But in West Ukraine, it's perfectly possible. I recently drove from Warsaw down through West Ukraine into Kiev.
Wow.
We're also helping Ukrainian business find new markets. It's important to find not just investment in the future, how do we find investable projects now? That's proving to be very, very difficult. Harder to get companies from outside fresh to invest, because there's a lot of risk profiling and cost of actually engaging in Ukraine, which is too high. So we're looking at the policy settings there. How do you create an environment where the private sector will be encouraged and incentivized to invest, is what we're looking at for the future.
Wonderful, wonderful. Final question for you, John. I'm just so excited that we're stepping up our partnership.
Yep.
And for us at the World Bank Group, working with others to achieve our much more ambitious vision now under Ajay's leadership means everything. How do you see this partnership, and what does it mean for you and ICC?
Well, we're very excited about, we're mission aligned. As you know, as we were just discussing before, we're in so many countries, developing emerging economies, where the World Bank plays such a critical role. In those economies will make a big difference, not just to the businesses, but to the communities they support. And the other thing that we're very good at is helping prioritize. And of course, one of the challenges, I think, for the World Bank is governments have priorities, but actually to engage in economic development, the old development assistance model is challenged now, so it's going to have to be private sector led. We can help with the priorities, and we actually have to step up as well. The reality is, if the economic model based on development assistance is now, if not perilously coming to an end, it's certainly diminished. The next model will have to be private sector led. Well, we're going to have to do more. We have to apply more bandwidth to actually help fill those gaps. But working with the World Bank, IFC, all the various agencies, I actually think could be a game changer. That's our intention. We are ambitious as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John. And here's really my takeaway from this brief but incredible conversation. Number one, associations like the ICC are absolutely critical for the World Bank Group to be able to deliver its more ambitious vision and mission in the developing world, which is partnering for a greater role by the private sector. Secondly, it's very encouraging to hear from John how there are really no barriers to the types of countries they're willing to work with, they're engaging with, some of the most difficult places on earth where we have to be present no matter what. And thirdly, I love to always get a take on technology and AI, and I like so much John's description of how they're actually helping companies also learn from each other and deploy experience from country to country, from company to company. This is all what it's about. It's about sharing good practices. It's about learning from each other, because that's the way we're going to be able to step up. That's it for today. Thank you for joining me on Talking Development, and I'll see you soon again.